I'm just okay. So, how are you? How you been doing?
To Rosemary.
Rosemary. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have 4 children and 3 grandchildren, soon to be 4 grandchildren. And I was trained as a teacher, and I taught during the 70s. And then I became a fundraiser in 1981. So I'm an old fundraiser. And I enjoy serving on boards. I enjoy leadership and volunteerism. We get so much more back from volunteering. It's very self-serving. And I think you've probably discovered that too, Ashley.
Yes, I have. Done a lot of community service over the years. So what can you tell us about starting your own business?
You know, my mother was a businesswoman before there were businesswomen. So I think I learned that from her. Of course, I started fundraising as a brownie selling Girl Scout cookies. So, you know, that was a little business.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter continues to lead Girl Scout troops. And I think she's won awards for the numbers of cookies she's sold. So that's a great way to start a business, learning how to sell Girl Scout cookies. But I think if you do what you love and you work with people you like, you're inspired by the people you're working with, and gives you the drive to start a business and to be successful in anything you do that you enjoy doing.
So what steps at the beginning of your journey pushed you to do what you're doing now?
I was very lucky as a volunteer in college, because I worked with Cincinnati's philanthropic community in a nonprofit organization called Young Friends of the Arts. And I had wonderful mentors like Irma Lazarus and Phyllis Weston and others. And I learned arts management and fundraising and promotion marketing as a college student. And in 1980, they hired me to revitalize that organization as Enjoy the Arts. It had died in 1972. So I began working to revitalize Enjoy the Arts, and I fundraised for other organizations as a consultant then for decades, and then as an employee for Northern Kentucky University Franciscan Health System, and I've returned to counseling clients again. I'm a nonprofit fundraising consultant.
All right. Well, is there anything that you would say that you've learned from Girl Scouts that helped you get where you are right now?
The persistence, I think, is what we all need to do. If you never give up, if you persist and persist and persist and never give up, and I think Girl Scouts teaches you to do that. They give you drive and inspiration and ambition. They teach you that it's okay, it's good to be ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't like women to be ambitious, but it's good.
Yes, it is. Would you have any advice for any young Girl Scouts that are starting their cookie sale this month?
Yeah, you know, to camp outside of a big grocery store.
Pretty much.
And when people leave the grocery store, sell them some cookies. That's a captive audience.
Yes.
They're probably hungry.
What all do you participate in to remain a part of your community?
I serve on a lot of boards. I really enjoy being involved with various board families. It's like being in a family, and it's hard to leave and not come back. So I currently chair the board of the Contemporary Arts Center. I've been serving on the board of the Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra, Music Hall, Friends of Music Hall. There, Cincinnati Shakespeare Company, Mercy Neighborhood Ministries. There are a number of them that I enjoy very much. I've been very active with the United Way.
That's wonderful.
Well,
Right.
as
One
you
more-
know, it's self-serving because you get so much back from volunteering.
Yes. All right, I just have one more question for you. What would you say the best part of your job is?
The people I meet, and I enjoy making a difference. You know, when we raise money and we're able to implement our mission because we have money to do that, we make things happen that wouldn't happen otherwise.
Yeah,
So
of course.
you feel better when you make the world a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's all I have for you.
Well, you're terrific, Ashlyn.
Thank you.
Thanks for saving that little girl.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Rosemary, we do have a question from Susan. How would you advise a girl to get knowledgeable about board service?
United Way has a board bank training program, and there are various training programs in Cincinnati. I know Urban League does board training as well, but there are various board training programs, and you can get linked. There's a organization, I'll have to research the name of it. I think it's Cincinnati Cares, that links volunteers, and United Way links volunteers as well. They have a 211 program that links volunteers. So yeah, and talk to people you know. Talk to other people you know serve on boards, and network, I would suggest. But there are various board training opportunities, and starting out with the Girl Scouts is good.
Absolutely.
It's good training.
That's great advice. I have a question. What are some obstacles that you have overcome that have made you so successful now?
When people say no, I try to leave a door open for the future, and I come back. You know, I persist. If they ask me to come back, I put it on my calendar and I come back. And if we're disappointed and we don't get a major gift that we think we're getting, then you just persevere. You move on, and yeah, you kind of, there's a lot of acting involved. You know, you act as though you're very successful, and you're not disappointed because you don't want to close any doors or burn any bridges. Woody Allen says 80% of success is showing up. So so you have to be there before they'll let you come. I think that's a Beckett quote. It may be a Harold Pinter quote. Anyway, you know, fake it till you make it, I guess, is a colloquial way to say you have to be there before they'll let you come. But you know, be successful. You know, make it happen. Does that help?
It helps me. I hope it helps all the girls. I'm sure it will. And I do love the fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Looks like Susan has another question here. What about innovation? This year's cookie program will certainly be different. Can you speak to innovation you have been part of in the past?
Well, certainly Zoomland has been a new opportunity. You know, we're raising major gifts via Zoom. And I never thought that would happen. We always thought that would be face-to-face. And we're still face-to-face. We're just on Zoom or some other platform. But as far as selling cookies goes, though, I would camp out, you know, in a major grocery store parking lot and wear your mask and sell those cookies. I think they're pretty irresistible. Those people are hungry.
Absolutely. They are very irresistible.
Yeah.
We do have a question from Katie Hardesty. What would you say was the most important quality that was instilled in you when you were young?
I think to be honest. I think it's important to be genuine. Everybody says authentic now. I always tell people what you see is what you get with me, you know, and I think being honest and forthright and being who you are is important. And I think the Girl Scouts, I know the Girl Scouts teaches you to be truthful.
Absolutely. And I have another question.
Yep.
Self-care is very important right now, especially balancing, schoolwork online. Do you have any advice, or how do you do self-care?
I like Ashland, I like to swim. I'll swim an hour a day when the weather's good, or when I'm in a climate, where I can swim every day for an hour. Or I work out on my Nordic track. I like to move around, and it feels so much better if you're working out and being active. It keeps me sane. So I try to do it every day. So I love to swim. But if you don't like to swim, that's okay. There are plenty of other things to do. But being active, I think, being physically active helps your mind and spirit, body, mind, spirit. It all works together. That's what I do for self-care. That, and I watch Netflix.
Yes, absolutely. Binge watch some shows.
Yeah, something funny and clever.
Do you have any Netflix shows you'd like to recommend?
Yeah, but I might not be able to say the one.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, Creek is my favorite.
Oh, yes,
My
yes.
all-time favorite. It won all the Emmy Awards for comedy this year.
I do like to watch that because I don't have to think about much. It's just something to
It's
laugh
terrific.
about.
There are a lot of funny, clever Netflix and Hulu programs. Thank God, huh? You need the
Right.
diversion. Reading's good too. I don't want to.
Can you suggest any books?
I did a book review recently for an organization I belong to about Curtis Sittenfeld's book, Eligible. Curtis Sittenfeld. She parodies The Bachelor. There's a program in her book on television called Eligible, which is essentially The Bachelor, and she satirizes Hyde Park and people in Hyde Park, and it's very, very clever, and it shows how far women have come in 200 years because it's a kind of a rewritten Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So I have a master's in English from Indiana University. So I loved comparing and contrasting Pride and Prejudice and Curtis Sittenfeld's book, Eligible. I really recommend it if you haven't read it. She's very, very clever.
I have not. So I wrote that down. I'll definitely be checking
Eligible.
that out.
She's written other books since, which I need to read. But I recommend Curtis, and she's local, although she lives in St. Louis now, but she certainly grew up here.
That's
Her
awesome.
protagonist enjoys eating Skyline.
Oh, hey, I love it.
Right.
Does anybody else have any questions for Rosemary or for Ashlyn?
Ashlyn, where were you when you saved the little girl? What swimming pool?
The Ludlow Bromley Swim Club in Ludlow.
Ah,
Rosemary, we did have another question come in. Is there a specific business challenge you encountered that sticks in your mind, and how did you overcome? That's from Tracy Butts.
well, my business is very much a personal relationship kind of business because I work with donors, very, very generous people who make the vision of nonprofits happen. And we were expecting $1 million gift from an individual, and one of our volunteers was shepherding that gift, and it didn't materialize when we were all really counting on it. So that was the most traumatic business occurrence that ever happened to me. Other than that, you know, when something like that happens, you just persevere, you just keep going, you persist, and you find the next opportunity. If something goes wrong, I believe in making decisions quickly, relatively quickly. I mean, I'm not paralyzed by analysis. And then if the decision doesn't work the way you hoped, then change course a little bit, you know, correct it, move forward. So I think it's important to act and to make it work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes, Tracy is shaking her head yes.
Tracy, are you a fundraiser? You're familiar to me. She's unmuting.
Now I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
So specifically fundraising, no, I have not. But I have done a lot of volunteer work with one site, which you may be familiar with. You may have seen me there because I do a lot with one site over the years for like past 20 years. And then also with Cinderella's Closet. It's a huge passion of mine, which is the Southern Ohio chapter and the Northern Kentucky chapter. So I've done a lot of volunteer work and missionary work and stuff like that. So I no offense, I don't recall running into you in anything. And I was very excited to have this opportunity to just be able to hear you speak about volunteer work and fundraising and all of that. Because I'm actually looking to get into that on the next next chapter of my life. So
We need you. We need good fundraisers. So join us.
sounds good. You might hear from me.
Good. That'd be terrific. We need you.
We have another question, Rosemary. What ahas have you had during the pandemic about fundraising and volunteering in nonprofits in general?
That I've learned that you can do events on Zoom, big events, but you need to program it. The way we've programmed this today with Ashlyn, for example, because if you just have 20 people staring at each other, that might get awkward. But if there's entertainment and maybe a game to play, as hokey maybe as that sounds, or some kind of activity, a tour of a place where you'd never go otherwise, or you have a toast with actors or performers. You can do Zoom events. They are successful online, maybe even more successful in terms of finding sponsorships and donations than in-person events. So that's been a big aha, that you actually can do events and they can be successful and they can be fun.
Yes, we've had to move all of our events online. So you said games and entertainment. Do you have anything that you came across that was special, a game that you played, or some type of entertainment that you were a part of on a Zoom meeting?
The Cincinnati Shakespeare Company, whom you'd expect to be fabulous and entertaining, and they are. They wrote a parody of Anything Goes, about anything goes during the pandemic, and it was very, very clever. And I play that just for mental health purposes. I go back and look at that. Actors interact and entertain and chat, and people sing and sing together even, and play musical instruments, play together. At Christmas, we played a Christmas bingo game. And I haven't played bingo in maybe 50 years. Well, yeah, probably 50 years. And it was kind of fun, it was fun to interact with people. doing something silly like that. So I'm sure there are probably 1,000 games now online that you can play in Zoom. Because people have been terrifically inventive. They've invented all sorts of variations of Zoom and breakouts and ways to move from one Zoom room to another, one breakout room to another. You know, the technicians have really risen to the occasion. It's been impressive.
Yes, everyone has been super creative. I attended my first baby shower and wedding via Zoom.
Wow.
So that was interesting.
Did you play games?
For the baby shower, yes, we did.
Yeah.
And it was pretty fun. I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
But everyone's getting so creative.
That's true. That's good. Necessity is the mother of invention, as they say.
Does anyone have any other questions for Rosemary? All righty. I just wanted to remind you all that this is recorded, so we will be sharing it out on our Facebook page on Friday. So feel free to rewatch or share out with your friends if they missed it. And I just wanted to thank Rosemary and Ashlyn for joining us today and providing so much insight to us for the new year. And thank you all for joining us as well. If you don't have any more questions, you can sign off. I will stay on here for a little bit longer if anyone does have a question pop in their head. But thank you all. Have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. Ashlyn, what do you want to do after you graduate?
I'm going to go to NKU, actually, and I'm going to study criminal justice.
Criminal justice, terrific.
I'm going to be a police officer. So.
Oh, wonderful. One of my friends is an attorney and a police officer, and she trains police all over the country, really internationally at times. So
That's cool.
I wanted to, yeah. So I wanted to ask Ashlyn that question, what she wanted to do. And they've got a great criminal justice program. Well, it's good to see both of you, Katie and Susan, and you too, Ashlyn. And Ashlyn's
Thank you
mom,
so much.
Mrs. Albert Wynn.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. Really appreciate your time and joining us.
My pleasure. You take good care.
We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.